Hello and welcome to the second video in this short series about items in the 5th edition rule set. This video is being made to complement the updating of the wiki page on 5e items and treasure parcels. So last time we looked at standard items and this time we're going to look at some different kinds of items. So if we create a new item here and if we type in weapon into the type box, tab out, and what we see is we get several new fields which are specific or unique to weapons. So we've got a subtype here, and normally this would be, well, I'll make this a martial weapon. So you've got, martial melee weapons, I think it is, ranged weapons, etc. We'll give it a name. Let's call it brutal sword. The rarity. Obviously, this is going to be a magic weapon, so it should have a rarity. So let's give it a rarity of rare. And if we wanted this weapon to require attunement, then in brackets after this, we would put in the I can't type and speak. We put in requires attunement. And Fantasy Grounds is going to pick this up and recognize this, and it won't give the wearer of the weapon the full bang until they have actually attuned to it. Cost and weight we have seen in the previous video. So let's squish down here now to the bonus. So the bonus here would be a bonus to the attack and damage rolls for this weapon, and obviously we just need a number, so let's just give it a +1. Obviously you can put any number you like in there, but +1 is what we'll put in. And then we come to the damage line, and the damage line requires a dice string, so let's give it 2d6. And then it needs to know what the type of damage that this weapon is going to do. So let's call it slashing. So that's pretty much it. Now if this weapon were to do any different kinds of damage, some kind of special damage, then we would put this in here separated by a comma. So for example, we could put a comma in here and add in silver. Other things that might, the kind of damage might be adamantine, or it could do cold damage, it could do acid damage, it could do any kind of damage that the 5th edition rule set recognizes. So any damages that the weapon does are go in after the dice string and separated by a comma if there's more than one. The properties box, if we have a quick look at, let's just move this out the way, if we have a quick look at the weapons list here and filter out to the player's handbook, you can see the kind of properties that the weapons have. You've got finesse, light, thrown, two-handed, etc., etc. So if this weapon had any of these properties, then we would add them in here and separate each one by a comma. But I wanted to show you a couple of properties which are not typically listed in the player's handbook versions of the weapons. And the first one of these is reroll. So we just type in reroll and then follow it by a number. In this case, we'll give it reroll 2. And what this is going to do is if the weapon damage rolls a 1 or a 2 on any of its dice, then those dice will get re-rolled and the re-rolled number will be taken instead of the original 1 or 2. So that is the kind of thing for, I think, one of the fighters' properties is, or traits, or fighting styles or whatever, allows you to re-roll 1s and 2s on certain weapons. So you could add this into this particular weapon to accommodate that, or maybe this weapon just re-rolls 1 or 2 because it's got a magical property of some kind. The next one I want to show you is the crit range. So if we type in crit range and then follow that by a number, let's say 19, what this is going to do is going to cause this weapon to critically hit on a 19 or a 20. If we put 18 in here, then it would critically hit on an 18, 19 or 20. So that's just going to increase the range, increase the amount of damage that this weapon does. And the third one I wanted to show you is simply magic. So this actually tells Fantasy Grounds that this is a magical weapon, and any attack or damage rolls that this weapon does will also contain the magic property. And that's useful for things like overcoming resistances and immunities. We've created our sword. Let's just quickly show you how this would all work. If we go to Bob here's inventory and give him the brutal sword, we can see when we have applied it to the inventory, this little check mark here has appeared in the attunement column. So let's suppose that Bob's managed to attune to the property, to the weapon, and he's got it equipped. And if we go now to look at the weapons section, we can see that the brutal sword has given us a +5 to hit. Bob's normal bonus to hit is a +4, so it's taking account of the magical +1. And if we have a look at the damage, you can see that it's gotten a +3 bonus to the damage, whereas Bob's normal bonus is a +2. So the +1 has been taken into consideration, and you can see the damage here is showing slashing, silver, and magic. And when we make an attack roll with this weapon, we can look and see that it's saying crit 19, which indicates that the weapon's range for criticals is 19 or 20. And if we do some damage, and we didn't roll any, but you can see that if we roll a 1 here, it shows you that it's got the reroll 2 property, and it re-rolled the dice because it came up with a 1, and we got a 2 instead, or 2 and a 6 instead of a 1 and a 6 or a 1 and a 2. I can't remember which ones it re-rolled, but at any rate, that's all working. Let's move on now to armor, and again, if we open up a new item, if we want an armor item, then we should type armor into the type. I must remember and spell it the American way, otherwise it won't work. So we type in armor, and we have several new fields here which have opened up for typing in stuff. The rarity, cost, weight, etc. We'll leave all that. But we'll look at the bonus, and this is similar to weapons. So if this is magical armor, it might give a bonus to armor class. We can put in that bonus in that box. The AC base is the base armor class of the armor, so let's give it an armor class of 14. Incidentally, the subtype here would be heavy, light, medium, etc. So the base AC bonus here is the amount of armor class that this armor provides without any magical bonus. So you don't include the magical bonus in this AC base because that will be separately added into the character. And if we look at the next boxes here, if we just quickly get the weapons, the armor up here, the player's guide, and we can see the kind of thing that we need to put into this dex bonus box. So essentially, if the armor doesn't provide any dexterity bonus at all, in other words, you don't get your dexterity and your base armor from this armor, then you just leave this box blank. Like this here, and you won't get any dexterity bonus at all for this particular armor. If you want to get the full dex bonus for the armor, if this is light armor in other words, then you just type the word yes in this dex bonus box here. And if you want to limit the amount of dex bonus, then you type in this here. So we would type in yes and then brackets max, and let's say 3. So in this case, for this armor, the wearer of the armor is going to get a maximum of 3 points of their dexterity bonus onto their armor class in addition to the armor. So if they've got a bonus of 4, they're only going to get 3. Obviously, if they've got a bonus of 2 that doesn't go up to 3, they just get a bonus of 2. So the maximum that they can get is 3. And the next one is the strength requirement. So if this is a heavy armor and requires a bit of strength to wear it, then you just put that figure in here. So STR, let's say 14. Now, Fantasy Grounds doesn't actually do that. It's not going to prevent somebody from wearing armor that they don't have the strength to wear. So you would need to sort that out with your proficiencies so that they would roll attacks at disadvantage, etc. The stealth property here, well, you can see that we need the word disadvantage if the wearer of the armor has disadvantage on strength. I mean, if we have a look, for example, at Bob the Cleric here, Bob is wearing chainmail armor, and if we have a look at his properties here, he's got disadvantage on his stealth checks because of that armor. If we take a look at the armor in the inventory here, it shows stealth disadvantage. So if disadvantage is shown in this box, then Fantasy Grounds knows to give the player disadvantage on any stealth rolls. There's no special properties for armor like there is for weapons. The only one maybe would be to, if this magical armor, then you could put magic in. I'm not sure that that has any effect anywhere really, but at any rate, there's no other further special properties that I can think of that go in there. And your final box, of course, is just a description of the item. And we can give it a name, whatever we want to say. Oh, and we've spelt it wrong. Never mind. Okay, so that's armor. So let's now have a look at another item type that we might have, and that would be equipment packs. So if we type equipment pack into the type line, press tab, then some more stuff opens up. We've got subtype, rarity, cost, weight, etc., and a description, but the important bit here is down at the bottom. If we get the items here from the D&D Player's Handbook, what we can do is we can populate this equipment pack with items that are actually in the equipment pack. So for example, a backpack here, and all we're really doing is just dragging the items into this space here. We might have a bedroll, maybe we have a blanket, etc. We can also create items here, so if you wanted to, you can simply click on the green button here, add the item. You can call it whatever you like, and then you can just add in a number as to how much of the item there is. Now, anything that's created here stays in here. It doesn't add that to any items or anything like that. It's just an item. It's not really recommended you create items here, but it's available if you want it. And if you wanted to give 2 bedrolls, then we can just edit the figure here. So when this backpack or when this item is given to a new character or given to a character and we drag this into their inventory, then all the items that we have listed here along with the number of the items will be added to their inventory. So that's equipment packs. Okay, let's move on then to the next one. And if we type in here vehicle component, tab out, and then we get some new fields for vehicle components. So this is a highly specialized item, but your vehicle might be a ship, of course. This might be the sails, it might be the rudder, it could be all sorts of things. It could be part of a spaceship. Whatever it is, this is a component, this is a part of a vehicle. We've got a subtype and a cost again, but we don't have a weight for this item, and we don't have rarity either. So these boxes, they just get filled in with whatever the statistics for this component are. We've got the possibility of a crew, so if the weapon or the component has a crew to operate it, maybe a rudder or a sails, it could be a weapon, then you would just type in these boxes and type in the number of the crew. And exactly the same for the armor class. If this component has an armor class, then we just type that in. And if it has hit points, we similarly just type in the values into these boxes. The DT here is damage threshold. So this means that if we put a number in here and this component takes damage from a single source that is less than the damage threshold that we enter here, then it takes no damage at all. But if it takes damage again from a single source that is equal to or greater than this damage threshold, then it takes the full damage. So it's a type of resistance or immunity that this particular thing might have. So if we put 10, oh, yeah, if we put 10 in there, then this component isn't going to take any damage at all if it gets hit for 9 points or less. And then we've got the cover, and we can cycle through here. We just click in this box here. It defaults to none, but the cover can be half, 3/4, or full. And this is the cover that the crew have when they're operating this particular component. Um, we have a description in the next line, and then we have the actions down here. Now, the component may not have any actions, but if it does, this is where you want to put them. You would click on the green plus icon, and this will open up some more boxes for you to fill in. The first one being the name. So I don't know, let's call it an arrow for want of a better word. And then you've got 3 boxes here for load, aim, and fire. And this is the number of rounds that it takes for the item to be loaded, or the component to be loaded, aimed, and fired. Now, it may not require any of this, but if it does, then you've got the ability to put that in. So it might take a round to load, a round to aim, and a round to fire. We would just add that in here to tell the player or the dungeon master or whatever when this thing goes on to the combat tracker, then it'll show exactly all of that information required. And then in here, we then have to put in the action itself. Now, this very closely mirrors the what you would find on an NPC. So if we have a look at this black bear here, and we go down to actions, we can see the bite here. We've got melee, weapon attack, +4 to hit, reach, blah blah, one target. That's what goes in here. It could have any number of actions. It could have more than one, and you would just list them all by adding another one and doing exactly the same thing. If we have a look at the Spelljammer book, and let's have a look at the ballista here. We can see that the ballista has this ranged weapon attack +6 to hit. It's got the range, how many targets, and what damage it does on a hit. So this is what you need to put in here. Now there could be all sorts of other things in here. It could be that the target might have to make a saving throw if it gets hit, and if it fails a saving throw, it might take extra damage, or it might suffer a condition or whatever. So all of that information can go in there. And my advice would be that you have a look at the wiki page for NPCs, where it's detailed. All of the actions that NPCs can take are detailed there. And it gives you the wording in there. Or you can just simply copy the wording from an NPC and edit it to whatever you want. But that all goes in there, and that's the actions that you would put in. And if you've got like the Descent into Avernus or Ghost of Saltmarsh or Spelljammer, then you will see the kind of wording that goes into any of these vehicle components. Okay, so the very last one that we have here is a vehicle component. upgrade. Um, Now you can see that actually not much has changed, and this is because there is nothing very much to change. The vehicle component upgrade is basically just a description, so there's nothing really very much more that you need to do for the vehicle component upgrade. They're just there. I think the only Descent into Avernus has vehicle component upgrades, and they're all in the description, and they would just upgrade a particular component. It might upgrade the armor class of the vehicle, for example, to a certain figure or by a certain bonus or whatever. So they don't have any mechanical thing, they are just a thing which you can have. But you can type this in here and that will keep them, Fantasy Grounds will recognize these, and they'll add them into the lists and you can filter on them, etc. Right, okay, I think that's enough for this video. We'll maybe do one more and we'll look at the forge and creating treasure parcels. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers for now.